Today we move on with the continuous topic called resources. The last class we completed with the title types of resources. Today we start the new topic as natural resources. What is meant by natural resources? What are all the resources directly provided by nature or called natural resources? Some of the natural resources are air, water, soil, minerals, natural vegetation, and wildlife. Those are come under the example for natural resources. Around us, what are all the things provided by nature is natural resources. The use of natural resources is based on the place of surroundings and the development of new technology. And then classification of natural resources. It can be classified into different groups depending on origin, development, renewability, distribution, ownership. First, we move on with the basis of origin. It contains two types, one thing biotic and then another thing abiotic. Biotic in the sense all living organisms, all the living organisms come under the biotic resource. For example, plants and animals and also the microorganisms are come under biotic. And then abiotic. Abiotic in the sense every non-living organisms, every non-living things come under the abiotic source. For example, desk, chair, bench, land, air, those are all the example for non abiotic. And then biotic resources were the substance till they recognized by human. The substance they recognized by human is a biotic thing. In our olden period, the people can store their needed substance for their futures. In our olden period, they can be store their needable substance for their futures. In those ancient days, people need only three basic things, but they were in the need of only three things, which are all the food, clothes, and shelter. These are the needed things for ancient people. They collected those things through primary activities. They collected those three things through primary activities such as hunting, fishing, foresting. By those things they would be collected those three: food, clothes, and shelter. But later they have a food scarcity, so they started to cultivate the food with the help of cattle. After that, the ancient peoples need abiotic source also, because they need to cultivate the food. So they are in the need of water. They move on to the place which is easily to get water for their purpose of agri and also for the cattle. They need the tools for hunting to agricultural. They also need the tools for hunting purpose of agricultural. Basically, the tools were made up of stones. So the man started to dug the earth to get a better abiotic source. These are the process. These are the process to. These are the process of to create a abiotic thing. And then they found copper at first. While digging the earth, they found the copper, and then later he found the iron. Also they found some precious stones. They found also the precious stones. They will be used, the precious stones for their ornaments. Later that later that later that mining became the leading one. Even in nowadays also, mining plays the important among the economic status. Next, on the basis of development, it also contains two resources. One is actual and then another one is potential. First, we move on with the actual resource. What is meant by actual resource? Actual resource in the sense that are used about the quality available. We use those actual resources by the quality available. Available quality is known as actual resources. For example, coal. And then potential resources. It won't used in present, and also its quality and location would not be known. Potential in the sense, the location, the quality and the location of those things will not be able to know. The technology source is also yet to be developed. Even the technology source will be developed. We didn't know about the location and quality of the potential sources. For example, east, which is located in the marine side, um, called Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea, which it was rare to found it. Next one, on the basis of renewability. Renewability, it should be classified as renewable source resources and non-renewable resources. First one, renewable resources. What is meant by renewable resources? What are all the resource we used it once and again we able to renewed with the passage of quality is called a renewable resource. Simply we use things we are all used again and again is known as the renewable resource. For example, air, water, sunlight. Then non-renewable resource in the sense, it is the resource which is totally opposite to renewable resource. Renewable resource which we are the things used repeatedly, but in non-renewable resource, in this type we won't be used repeatedly. It has a limited time quality to use, and also it can't be replaced. For example, petrol, coal, and also other minerals are come under the non-renewable resource because it can't be reused. Resource which can't be renewed themselves are scarce or totally absent within the limited period. So the man was in search of new resource to conducting several researches. While he confirms that a substance in a research only after their research, those things are come under either usable or non-usable resource. Those resources was called as a potential resource. Those resources are called a potential resource. Air is one of the potential resource. In our period, we also not used those resource because there is some reason. The place where the wind energy can be utilized. And then we move on to the on the basis of distribution. It also contains two things. First one, localized. Second thing, universal. Localized in the sense, mm, the resources which are presented in some specific places are called localized resources. For example, minerals. Minerals are present in some of the specific places. So, it comes under the localized resource. And then, universal resource. Um Universal resource, which is meaning, which is the things presented in every place. Those are all come under the universal resource. For example, sunlight. We get the sunlight from everywhere, so it is called a universal resource. And then based on the ownership, it had a four kind. One is individual, another one is community, and then national, finally international. First thing, individual resource. Individual resource in the sense, mm, it was owned by individual. Privately, we have been owned anything. For example, apartments. Not only apartments, in all over the life, what are all the things we owned privately come under come under the individual resource. Then community resource. It is simply called a public usage. It is called a public property. These resources which are used by all over the people in public are called community resources. For example, public pots, which the sense called road, beach, those are all come under the example for community resource. Then national resource. Resources which are comes near the boundaries of our country and also the area of ocean. Those are all come under the national resource. For example, tropical forest regions of India. And then international resource. All the oceanic resource all the oceanic resource come under the international resource. It will be used after the international, it will be used after the agreement of international process. For example, ambergris in the sense a waxy portion of whales. It was presented in the ocean. Ambergris in the sense waxy portion of whales, it was in the ocean. Okay, thank you guys. Today's work for you are define abiotic resource. What is mean? Read and write what is mean by abiotic resources. And then second question, differentiate the universal and localized resource presented in the presented in the on the basis of distribution. Thank you.